Hey everyone, I'm here to talk about the digital story that Faiza and I created for our Introduction to Academic Writing and New Media course. We created our digital story in iMovie and then posted it to YouTube. We created the digital story for Module 1 to introduce the topics of academic integrity and plagiarism, which are kind of hard to talk about with students in university, so we wanted an engaging story to sort of break the ice with students. We wanted to focus on the mindset of academic integrity rather than like a list of rules about how not to plagiarize, essentially. So we thought a digital story would fit really well with the scope of the assignment. There is a lot of material online for academic integrity and plagiarism. Most universities will have some sort of video or module or some sort of course on it. And a lot of times it just basically substitutes or augments pamphlets and info sheets that are already available. So technology really isn't being used to convey the intention behind academic integrity. At least that's what I kind of thought. So Faiza and I really challenged ourselves to use iMovie in an inventive way to produce something that's not exactly available online. We hadn't really seen many digital stories for academic integrity, so this was something new that's just not out there and that I had never seen before. And also, we also wanted to connect it to the learning objectives of our course, so we started out with that, which made all the difference. For the purposes of this reflection, I'm going to talk about iMovie in 3 different sections. So the technical aspect of using iMovie, content-wise, what's necessary, and pedagogically, what's important about using iMovie for the digital story. Overall, Faiza and I were really impressed with iMovie. It's free, and we wanted a free or low-cost option to create this video, so I would definitely recommend using iMovie in the future. We used a built-in template. We were inspired by one of the videos that we saw in this course. We used the bulletin board template because we thought it went really well with the theme of our story of kind of moving through the motions, really zooming in on personal aspects of the story, and just creating more of a personal experience for students watching the digital story. We found it really easy to use overall, easy to import clips, great quality when we published it onto YouTube. And if you can't figure something out, then the iMovie has been around for so long that it's pretty easy to find something online to supplement what you don't know. And I think overall what I really like about iMovie is that it kind of has a built-in storytelling feature. The Ken Burns effect with the photos is really nice for zooming in and creating more of a personal experience. And yeah, just overall, really engaging platform. Content-wise, it's really easy to integrate outside videos. Faiza sent me lots of different clips and photos to integrate into the movie, and it's just easy to snip and add things into iMovie when you need to and rearrange at any given point. I know I've used some platforms in the past where it can get really inflexible, so that was important to us working on it collaboratively, of just having a flexible platform. The one thing I do worry about with integration is things are really easy to kind of add into the video to publish into YouTube, but I know that Blackboard has a feature called Kaltura where you can just store all of your video files basically inside of Blackboard so that if YouTube or something ever goes down, then at least you have those videos available to students. I couldn't see anything like that in Canvas, so that might be something that I explore more because I do think that's an important feature, and especially for post-secondaries where you want the content accessible at any given time for students. We did find that just relying on iMovie is just not feasible because they don't have really built-in photos or anything like that. They do have lots of great audio, which we used in our digital story, but it was important to select a tool that was compatible with other tools, so we used lots of other tools. We used Pexel videos and Pixabay videos. We used screencasting software, and everything was really compatible with iMovie. For the most part, all of the tools that we used and the compatibility of iMovie allowed us to focus on the content or the story itself without having to worry about the tools taking away from the experience of telling Christina's story. So we're really pleased about that. In terms of pedagogy, we found iMovie to be really inclusive and sometimes in surprising ways. So when we uploaded our iMovie onto YouTube, there's a closed captions feature on YouTube, which I didn't really think much of. I didn't really think that it would work that well, and I played it and played around with it, and it worked great. It was almost perfect, word for word, exactly what I was saying. Also, part of the reason of creating this digital story for our module was to sort of model best practices for students since our course is focused on new media, digital storytelling, media production, that kind of thing. We wanted to use a platform that was stable that students could use themselves and to sort of model our expectations through the video. And so all around, I do think that iMovie was the best choice in terms of that. So we built this digital video while we were creating specific parts of the content module, and that really helped us stay on track with the digital story. However, I mean, when we first started with the digital story, I think we were close to like 8 minutes and we had barely even scratched the surface with the digital story. So even though we had some of the content module built, we had to make decisions about what to actually put in the digital story because you can't put everything into that's in the content module obviously into the digital story. But I don't know, for some reason that's kind of the direction that I started out in. So I really had to focus back in on differentiating the learning experience for students. What did I want students to get out of this particular video? How to make it short and still inclusive for all learners. And we did realize that the digital story, like while it's great, we also had to consider how to present the story in other formats. So we developed a downloadable PDF that basically has all of the information that's covered in the digital story for students to download after they watch the video. It can also, or they can download it before watching the video, just because I think it's important to give students different options. The digital story is great, but it's not for everyone, and especially referring back, students, I think a lot of the times prefer text. They like something to look back to. So some of the challenges in creating this digital story, overall, I think we did try to use an authentic voice with Christina Belfat's story. I know that not everyone will probably relate to it, and looking back, I mean, maybe it would have been worthwhile to have a male voice in there too. We only have so many resources though, and since Faze and I are both women, and we don't really like the online robotic voices, like it just made sense to go with a woman's voice. But we did try to use videos and other photos that were more inclusive and recognizing that academic integrity is a mindset for everyone to consider in the course. Another challenge was time. We spent a lot more time creating this video than I thought that we would. In a good way, it ended up being worth it, but I definitely underestimated pre-production, production, and editing the video and how much time that would really take. So moving forward, as an instructional designer, if I work with other teachers who are creating a digital story, you have to be really upfront with that and maybe even provide strategies for those different phases, because creating a digital story that's gonna actually tell a story rather than just kind of being a talking head video is gonna take more time. Deciding what to cut was really challenging too, because like with academic writing, at least from my experience, you get attached to your words and your ideas that you put so much effort into. But at the end of the day, realizing things like cognitive load and respecting the time that your learners do have is really important. There were a couple sections in our original video that just had me talking to students, and it sort of took away from Christina's story and broke the fourth wall. So we decided to cut that, and eventually I think because of that, the story is much stronger. So I think, yeah, again, I didn't really consider that before starting out of things that I would have to cut. So yeah, glad that we did. Avoiding the talking head was a surprising challenge. When I first started working on this video, I thought, oh, of course it'll be so easy to avoid the talking head. But that's, I don't know, for whatever reason, that seems to be my comfort zone. I always think like the talking head just kind of makes things more personal, but for the purposes of our digital story anyway, it really doesn't add to the experience. So thinking about how to tell a story from Christina's perspective in a way that's going to reach the audience and get them to consider the mindset of academic integrity and the consideration of plagiarism, it was a bigger deal than I thought that it would be. And I think that's a lot of people's, I don't know, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think a lot of people kind of identify with using the talking head, and it's what we've seen in the past, but to kind of break away from that and try something else can be really challenging. But I'm definitely going to push for that in the future because I'm really happy with our digital story. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I have to laugh as I realize telling or reflecting on this digital story, I have used the talking head function through TouchCast. But I think just overall, what I learned is just using the right tool for the purpose at hand. So avoiding the talking head for the digital story made a ton of sense. Me reflecting on my experiences by using this feature in TouchCast, I think adds a personal touch and allows me to sort of engage with the content as I review it. So yeah, that's definitely what I'll be taking forward in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.